Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, President-elect Donald Trump continues to assemble his cabinet. And President Biden attended the last day of the G20 summit in Brazil. More about what was discussed.
And we're seeing a substantial amount of rain today, but now we're going to be talking about snow by the end of the week. Details in a few minutes.
Dedicated to southern and eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. President-elect Trump had a front row seat in the space race today as he attended the launch just about 30 minutes ago of a rocket owned by his friend and benefactor, billionaire Elon Musk. Meanwhile, Trump is pushing hard for his cabinet picks to win confirmation in the Republican-controlled Senate, despite some serious accusations against them. CBS's Christian Benavidez is in West Palm Beach, Florida, with the latest.
President-elect Donald Trump arrived in Brownsville, Texas to watch the launch of a SpaceX rocket.
We have liftoff.
The Starship, which is the world's largest and most powerful rocket, is designed to one day conduct missions to the moon and Mars.
We want to reach Mars before the end of my term.
Trump is accompanying SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, who has become one of his most influential backers. Musk has already been named co-chair of Trump's committee to slash the size of government. The president-elect is also pushing Republican senators to get behind one of his more controversial choices, Attorney General pick Matt Gaetz. The House Ethics Committee is determining whether it will release its report about the former congressman, detailing some of its findings into allegations that include sexual misconduct.
She observed to her right Representative Gaetz having sex with her friend who was 17 at the time.
An attorney representing a woman who claims she was paid to attend sex parties with Gaetz says he has turned over to the committee Venmo and PayPal transactions showing payments for sex and text messages where Gaetz refers to illegal drugs in code words. Vice President-elect J.D. Vance will escort Gaetz to Capitol Hill Wednesday for meetings with senators, including Louisiana's John Kennedy, who says confirmation won't be easy.
I wouldn't bet my house on it one way or the other. And if I were betting your house, which would be a lot easier, I have to say I don't know.
Vance will also be on the Hill with Pete Hegseth, the former Fox News host, who has been picked to head up the Pentagon. Christian Benavidez, CBS News, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Hegseth admits he settled a lawsuit with a woman who accused him of sexual assault to keep the claim, which he denies, from ruining his career. Gaetz also denies any wrongdoing. The Manhattan DA's office says it agrees with postponing Donald Trump's sentencing in the hush money case. In a letter to the judge, the DA's office also acknowledged Trump is not likely to be sentenced until after the end of his upcoming term as president. But the district attorney says Trump's felony conviction should stand. Trump was convicted in May on 34 counts of falsifying business records over payments made to his then lawyer, Michael Cohen. A House Republican has introduced a resolution to ban transgender women from using women's restrooms in U.S. Capitol buildings. South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace is pushing for the ban less than 2 months before America's first out transgender person enters Congress. Sarah McBride will be sworn in January as a new representative from Delaware. Mace says McBride is a biological man who does not belong in women's spaces. The prosecution is wrapping up its case in the trial of a man who illegally entered the country and is accused of murdering Georgia nursing student Laken Riley. On the trial's third day, the judge heard more testimony from law enforcement officers and medical examiners about the gruesome crime. Jose Ibarra pleaded not guilty to murder and other charges in connection to the death of Riley, a nursing student in Athens, Georgia, who was killed during a morning jog in February.
She has a combination of abrasions, which are scrapes, as well as contusions, which is just the fancy medical way of saying a bruise, so bleeding under the skin, as well as lacerations.
Ibarra waived his right to a jury trial, and the judge will be deciding the case. The Diddy case is getting more complicated, with a friend of the rapper now claiming extortion. An anonymous man who describes himself as a celebrity filed a new lawsuit in the case. He claims Houston attorney Tony Busby is trying to get him to pay money to avoid the release of claims against him. Busby represents at least 120 victims who say they are victims of Sean Diddy Combs. He has been accused of sexually assaulting minors. Combs denies all those claims.
All right, we're seeing some rain and some patchy fog being picked up at this hour. This is the latest from Buffalo Mountain. You can see, I mean, you really can't. The visibility is just so low as we're seeing those low-level clouds pushing through portions of eastern Kentucky. And right now in downtown Hazard, we're seeing some heavy rain at this hour. Temperatures right now are in the 50s and 60s. We're at 59 in Hazard, 59 Prestonsburg, Pikeville's at 57, Clintwood is at 55, 63 is the current temperature in Somerset, 62 in London, as well as Manchester. Here's live pinpoint Doppler radar, and we'll go ahead and pinpoint the eastern part of the WYMT viewing area over towards Paintsville, towards the Prater area, south and east of Pikeville, seeing some heavy rain at 5:36. Now the rain chances will continue as we go throughout the overnight hours. Overnight lows will be in the 50s from top to bottom, mid-50s towards Williamsburg as well as Middlesboro, 55 in London as well as Manchester, 57 will be the overnight low in Jackson. Now, we do have that snow chance in the forecast Thursday and Friday, and that's why we have declared Thursday and Friday first alert weather days, and we're going to go over the complete breakdown coming up in the first alert forecast in a few minutes. Steve.
Eric, thank you. It was announced today that Russian President Vladimir Putin is lowering the threshold for Russia to use nuclear power. With that announcement, some questions are being posed, such as what will happen once another Trump administration begins. It was Sunday when President Biden authorized Ukraine to use U.S. longer-range missiles that can strike even further within Russia. For Ukraine native Victor Selipina, it's a decision he feels strongly about.
My honest opinion, it's about 1,000 days too late. Maybe the outgoing administration fears that it hasn't done enough. I don't know. And now they're kind of frantically trying to, because of the election results.
President-elect Donald Trump has said that he plans to help put an end to the war once he is in office. Senator Mitch McConnell talked about the U.S. support for Ukraine today, saying, quote, "History will record hesitation, indecision, and cowardice as the hallmarks of this administration's Ukraine policy from the beginning. This time, if recent press reports are true, Ukraine at long last has permission to use long-range American ATACMS weapons against military targets in Russia." President Biden attended the second day of the G20 summit in Brazil today. President Biden joined other world leaders for a group photo. He also talked about a variety of topics, including climate change. President Biden told world leaders that, quote, "History is watching us."
When it comes to the adoption of clean energy, we've made remarkable progress together, but we all know we have so much more to do. We all know what it takes. History is watching us. History is watching. I urge us to keep faith and keep going. This is the single greatest existential threat to humanity if we do not deal with climate change.
Today was the last day of the G20 summit. Chinese officials have rejected a meeting this week with U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. Austin had proposed a talk with his Chinese counterpart at a defense summit in Laos. Beijing said a recent $2 billion U.S. arms sale to Taiwan is the reason for declining. China says the arms sale is a threat to its sovereignty. The development comes days after Presidents Biden and Xi Jinping met to discuss broader topics. The Christian Appalachian Project is having a panel discussion on food insecurity this evening. The organization will also air a short documentary screening called Fighting Hunger, Feeding Hope. CAP says the documentary spotlights advocates seeking to address food insecurity on a large scale as well as locally in states and communities. That meeting runs from 7 until 9 p.m. at the Farish Theater in downtown Lexington. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, we take a look at ways you can decorate for the holidays without breaking the bank in today's Watching Your Wallet.
And Mother Nature's going to be doing some holiday decorating of her own Thursday and Friday. Details in a few minutes.